they did cast the show, I've worked out. They just got all the worst singers in America on purpose to audition. No one told me that. It took me about 10 years to realize.
For more than 2 decades, Simon Cowell has been one of the most powerful figures in global entertainment. His sharp tongue, serious expression, and brutal honesty made him famous on shows like Pop Idol, American Idol, The X Factor, and America's Got Talent. Millions of viewers tuned in every week not just to see new talent, but to hear what Simon Cowell would say next. A single comment from him could destroy a contestant's confidence or launch someone into worldwide fame. Over time, Simon built a reputation as the ultimate judge, someone who could not be impressed easily and who did not care about feelings if the performance was weak. But Simon Cowell was not always this powerful figure. He grew up in England, struggled in school, and often clashed with authority. He disliked being told what to do and preferred to learn through experience. With help from his father's connections in the music industry, Simon started at the very bottom, working in a mailroom. From there, he slowly learned how the industry worked, making mistakes, losing money, and failing many times before finding success. When Simon finally appeared on television as a judge, he realized that the drama between judges was just as important as the talent itself. Over time, Simon became more than a judge, he became the boss. He controlled casting, format decisions, and even which judges stayed or left. However, power often creates conflict. As Simon's influence grew, so did the tension with other judges who sat beside him. Some challenged his authority, some embarrassed him on live television, and others refused to follow his rules. Over the years, Simon Cowell made it clear, sometimes directly, sometimes through his actions, that not every judge earned his respect. These conflicts would eventually define some of the most uncomfortable and controversial moments in talent show history. Paula Abdul was one of the original judges on American Idol, sitting beside Simon Cowell and Randy Jackson when the show first aired in 2002. She brought warmth, kindness, and emotional support to the panel, often encouraging contestants even when their performances were weak. This made her the complete opposite of Simon Cowell, who believed honesty mattered more than comfort. At first, their differences created great television. Viewers loved watching Paula defend contestants while Simon tore performances apart. But behind the scenes, their relationship was far more complicated. In a shocking interview years later, Simon revealed that during the early seasons of American Idol, he and Paula could not even travel on the same plane together. He claimed the tension between them was so strong that it made working together extremely uncomfortable. Simon also made controversial comments suggesting Paula had romantic feelings toward him, statements that many people felt were disrespectful and unnecessary. These remarks damaged Paula's public image and made their professional relationship even more strained. Things became worse when former contestant Corey Clark accused Paula of inappropriate behavior during his time on the show. Although an investigation found no proof, the media attention was intense and damaging. Interestingly, during this crisis, Simon supported Paula publicly, showing a rare moment of loyalty. Still, the damage had already been done. Paula later admitted that sitting next to Simon week after week took an emotional toll on her, especially as the only woman on the panel. While they continued working together for years, their relationship never fully recovered. For Simon Cowell, Paula Abdul became an example of a judge who created emotional chaos and public controversy, something he later seemed to resent, even if it helped the show's ratings. Sharon Osbourne was never the quiet type. Known for her sharp wit and fearless personality, she joined the X Factor as a judge and quickly became one of the most outspoken voices on the panel. Sharon had decades of experience in the music industry and believed she brought credibility to the show. However, her strong personality often clashed with Simon Cowell's desire for control. Over time, Sharon began to feel that her opinions were being ignored and that Simon viewed her as replaceable. The conflict reached a breaking point when Sharon claimed Simon blocked her from joining The Masked Singer US by keeping her under contract for a season of The X Factor that never happened. According to Sharon, Simon later dismissed her by saying the show needed someone younger, a comment that she described as deeply insulting and ageist. Sharon openly accused Simon of running a boys' club where male judges were protected while women were pushed aside as they aged. She also claimed that Simon encouraged feuds between female judges to create drama for television. Over the years, Sharon's public comments about Simon became harsher. She described him as controlling, dismissive, and more focused on power than fairness. By the time she left the X Factor, Sharon made it clear she would never work with Simon again, no matter the money. From Simon Cowell's point of view, Sharon Osbourne was a problem because she could not be controlled. She challenged his authority publicly and refused to stay silent. Their fallout exposed a deeper issue within talent shows: how power is handled and who gets to keep their seat at the table. Mel B, also known as Scary Spice from the Spice Girls, joined America's Got Talent with confidence, energy, and a strong personality. She was never afraid to speak her mind, and at first, her relationship with Simon Cowell appeared playful and competitive. However, one moment in 2017 changed everything. During a live show, Simon made a joke comparing a disappointing performance to Mel B's wedding night, suggesting there was excitement but no delivery. While Simon may have intended it as humor, Mel B was deeply offended. She had been emotionally vulnerable that night due to the recent death of her father, and Simon's comment felt cruel and personal. In response, Mel B threw her drink at Simon on live television, shocking both the audience and fellow judges. While the moment was treated lightly by the show's host, Mel B later explained that it was the result of built-up frustration and disrespect. She openly stated that Simon needed to understand there are consequences for inappropriate comments. Even after the incident, tension between them remained. Over time, Mel B suggested that Simon's behavior reflected a larger pattern of disrespect toward female judges. Her willingness to stand up to him publicly made her one of the few judges who refused to tolerate his dominance. For Simon Cowell, Mel B represented unpredictability, someone who could challenge him in front of millions and disrupt his carefully controlled image. Simon Cowell is not just a television judge, he is a brand, a system, and a powerful decision-maker who changed how talent shows work across the world. For many viewers, Simon became famous for his blunt comments, serious stare, and complete lack of emotional filtering. On shows like Pop Idol, American Idol, The X Factor, and America's Got Talent, Simon was the voice of authority. When he spoke, contestants listened, audiences reacted, and careers shifted instantly. However, Simon did not start his life as a confident boss. As a child growing up in England, he struggled with school and authority. He often felt bored, restless, and misunderstood. Traditional education did not work for him, and he clashed with teachers who tried to control him. His father worked in the music industry, which gave Simon early access to a world most people never see. Still, access did not guarantee success. Simon failed repeatedly in the music business, losing money and credibility before finally learning what audiences wanted. When he appeared on television, Simon quickly realized that talent alone was not enough to keep viewers watching. Conflict, drama, and strong personalities mattered just as much. Over time, Simon shifted from being just a judge to becoming the central figure behind the shows themselves. He helped design formats, selected judges, and decided which voices mattered most. This growing control placed him in a position of extreme influence. But power often creates tension, especially when others refuse to follow the rules. Many judges who sat beside Simon admired his success but struggled with his dominance. As the years passed, Simon's relationships with fellow judges became just as famous as the shows themselves. Paula Abdul was one of the most recognizable faces on early American Idol. She brought warmth, encouragement, and emotional understanding to a panel that could often feel cold. Paula believed that confidence could help talent grow, while Simon believed weak performers needed to hear the truth, no matter how painful it was. This difference created iconic television moments, with Paula defending contestants while Simon criticized them sharply. However, behind the scenes, their relationship was deeply strained. Simon later admitted that the tension between them was so intense they could not even fly together during the early seasons. This was not playful disagreement, it was personal dislike. Simon also made public comments suggesting Paula had romantic feelings for him, statements that many people felt crossed professional boundaries. These remarks embarrassed Paula and shifted public focus away from her work. The situation worsened when Paula faced accusations from a former contestant, claims that were later found to be untrue. During this crisis, Simon surprisingly supported her, showing loyalty when her reputation was at risk. Still, the emotional damage remained. Paula later admitted that working under constant pressure, criticism, and public scrutiny took a serious toll on her mental health. Being the only woman on the panel added another layer of stress. For Simon Cowell, Paula represented emotional unpredictability, something he tolerated for ratings but never fully respected. Their relationship became an example of how kindness and empathy can be undervalued in competitive entertainment environments. Sharon Osbourne entered the X Factor with confidence and authority. She had managed a legendary rock career and was no stranger to controversy. Sharon believed she earned her seat at the judges' table through experience and credibility. However, her strong personality often conflicted with Simon Cowell's desire to remain in full control. Sharon later accused Simon of blocking her career opportunities and using age as a reason to push her aside. She claimed that Simon kept her tied to contracts while replacing her with younger faces. According to Sharon, this was not just personal, it was part of a pattern. She described the talent show environment as a boys' club, where male judges were protected while women were easily removed. Sharon also claimed that Simon encouraged fights between female judges to boost ratings. Over time, Sharon's public criticism of Simon became more aggressive. She accused him of valuing control over fairness and loyalty. Eventually, she made it clear she would never work with him again. For Simon Cowell, Sharon Osbourne was dangerous not because she lacked talent, but because she refused to be silent. She challenged his authority openly, something Simon rarely tolerated. Their fallout exposed uncomfortable truths about ageism and gender inequality in television. Mel B joined America's Got Talent with energy, confidence, and a fearless attitude. Known worldwide as part of the Spice Girls, she was used to commanding attention. At first, her playful back-and-forth with Simon Cowell seemed harmless. But one comment during a live show changed everything. Simon made a joke comparing a performance to Mel B's wedding night, suggesting excitement without delivery. To Simon, it may have been humor. To Mel B, it was disrespectful and deeply hurtful. That night, she was already emotional due to her father's recent death. The comment pushed her over the edge, and she responded by throwing her drink at Simon live on television. The moment shocked audiences but also revealed something important. Mel B later explained that the reaction was about built-up frustration, not just one joke. She openly stated that Simon needed to understand boundaries. Even after the incident, their relationship remained tense. Mel B became one of the few judges willing to publicly stand up to Simon's behavior. For Simon Cowell, Mel B represented chaos, someone who could not be controlled and who could challenge his authority in real time. Dannii Minogue's story is one of the most emotional and tragic among Simon Cowell's judge relationships. When she joined the X Factor, she was welcomed as a talented performer with international experience. However, rumors soon emerged suggesting her position was due to a personal relationship with Simon Cowell. These rumors were fueled by media reports and statements from other judges. Sharon Osbourne openly attacked Dannii in interviews, questioning her legitimacy. What made the situation unbearable was Simon's silence. Despite having the power to defend her, he chose not to intervene publicly. Over time, the constant bullying and gossip deeply affected Dannii's mental health. She later admitted she was not just stressed, she was broken. She described feeling isolated and humiliated week after week. For Dannii, the environment became emotionally toxic. The show valued drama more than well-being. Simon Cowell allowed the rumors to continue because they created headlines and attention. From a business point of view, it worked. From a human perspective, it caused lasting harm. Dannii's experience highlights how damaging silence can be when someone in power chooses ratings over responsibility. Howie Mandel brought humor and kindness to America's Got Talent. For many seasons, he acted as the emotional balance to Simon Cowell's seriousness.